Do you feel it? That chill in the air, creeping under your skin, curling itself quietly into your bones. The kind of cold that feels less like the weather and more like some unnamed fear, something vast and invisible pressing down from all sides. That's crypto winter. No, not just a clever phrase, but a reality so dense and consuming it becomes almost intimate. We were turning the corner, weren't we? Just a flicker ago, there were signs of spring. But here we are now, wrapped in the deep, dark hush of a season that feels endless. Before we face what comes next, join me and become part of this journey. Subscribe to Crypto 101 Central. If you want to stay close to the beating heart of these stories, click on the bell to be the first to feel every tremor, every resurgence, every hope. I have lived enough cycles to recognize the shadow overtaking the rooftops. Crypto is in contraction, demand shriveled, liquidity drawn back like the tide, leaving behind only stranded shells. A risk-off world, where fear weighs heavier than greed and every headline tastes faintly of surrender. Some say it's just another correction, but you and I, those who've watched the silent implosions, the quiet moments when a market loses its voice, we know it. This is full winter, a landscape emptied of momentum except for the occasional, bitter wind. There's pain here, yes, but also clarity. You see it if you're brave enough to look. A stark division where institutional assets, those with money flowing in from old, armored institutions, hold themselves above water, not untouched but less battered. Everything else? Retail tokens and dreams, adrift and eroded, down not by 10 or 20, but by 60, sometimes 70 in 1 year. The chart didn't lie. It split the room in two and, in doing so, made the cold feel honest. I remember running my finger along those lines, tracking Bitcoin and Ethereum as they stumbled through the months. Remember when Bitcoin brushed 126,000, then settled, wounded, just 6% lower by year-end. Modest, compared to the carnage elsewhere. Avalanche, Cardano, names once whispered hot with promise, fell further and further, their colors draining out until what was left felt like the pale echo of an old summer. For some, the winter began quietly in January, for others it started even earlier, but by October, it didn't matter. The frost had set into everything. Like so many in pain, we look for singular villains. There must be a hedge fund, a complicated strategy unwinding in silence, an offshore entity drunk on leverage and forced to puke up billions. But the truth is less cinematic. Sometimes there are simply no buyers. The market stands in silence, and the void drags price into its jaws. It's a vacuum, brutal in its indifference. Sell orders stack up, but hope is absent, and the only thing left is capitulation. It reminds me of those endless nights, eyes wide open in bed, when you wait for a reason, an answer, and none comes. Maybe the collapse was always coming, carried along not by a single catastrophe but by a mosaic of failing trust and spent optimism. The sellers, those ancient whales, ghosts from earlier cycles, exited quietly at the edges, in front of the next 4-year cycle as if they'd caught the scent of winter's approach. Quantum worries, leverage unwinding, hints of panicked flight from every asset class. Then, when everything from gold to technology caught the same cold, crypto had nowhere left to hide. Pause, for a breath. If you find something painfully familiar in these words, like an echo of your own anxieties and dreams, like this video, let its presence be another kind of warmth in the cold. And if tears or laughter or a silent yes rises inside you, leave it below so we can find each other in the snow. It's not all doom. Even in the midwinter dark, I see embers glowing. True, prices have withered, and for so many, fatigue has taken over. But look, there's quiet activity under the ice. Blockchains still generate billions in annual revenue. Underlying adoption, painstakingly slow, moves forward. Stable coins are growing, not as meteors for trading but as arteries for the whole digital economy. Tokenization, the process of wrapping real-world value into digital skins, has the makings of something vast, maybe even revolutionary. What if winter is more than a punishment? What if it's a crucible, burning away illusion to reveal the stubborn structures and the possibilities that no volatility can erase? The next cycle is assembling itself in whispers. A future where not just investors, but billions of artificial intelligences, agents acting in digital space, will use these rails natively. They won't care about bad user experience or about clunky old banks. Their logic is perfect, their needs digital, and they will choose blockchains and DeFi. It sounds surreal now, but history is a graveyard of laughter at the new, until the new is simply reality. You want to know where the bottom is? I want to too. We search for it the way lost children search for light. We imagine it as a singular event, one final capitulation. But often it is exhaustion, not optimism, that calls a market to rise again. When the last voices stop shouting, when our arguments fall silent and we close the tabs, that's often when the seeds of change have already begun to take root beneath the snow. Some say, watch for 100,000, some mystical level where those who have held since the dawn will finally let go. That's not irrational, it's human. We're not machines. We are sculpted by memory and regret and hope, and markets move to this music, not just to mathematics. This overhead resistance, this psychological wall, matters deeply. To ignore it is to ignore yourself. But here's where I find fragile hope. The drivers building now aren't just new tokens or clever memes. They are the deep, slow rhythms of infrastructure. Stable coins as the backbone, not the sideshow. Tokenization as the bridge between the old world of finance and this strange new one. The merging of machine and money, a future in which the economic dance includes not only us but partner intelligences, tirelessly spinning on invisible rails. Demand, then, will not just be a human feeling but a technological force, woven into the systems we build. Still, there is pain to be endured. Short-term volatility is unavoidable, and winter never seems to leave when you want it gone. Resistance will cap the rallies, exhaustion will set the pace, and many will swear that nothing can change. But structurally, the narratives compound even as prices shiver. In every cycle, what appeared to be terminal was merely transformative. And when the pressure becomes impossible to ignore, the market always reprices with the urgency of a thaw. I don't pretend to know the map from here, only the terrain of feeling. The best investors are rarely the prophets of perfect timing. They are those who recognize when the season shifts, who sense the arrival of something new under all the old debris. Can you feel it yet? The subtle change, the restless promise of what will come after the cold? If this story has mirrored your own, if the words here trace the outlines of your fears and stubborn hopes, subscribe for more investor-focused reflections. Let us wander these cycles together. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are we at the end of winter, or only at its heart? And as you finish here, take a step further. Explore our other videos, and don't forget to ring the bell. Don't miss the next turn, the next thaw. Thank you for being a part of this journey.